Something that I have been working on for the past 6 years of entrepreneurship is keeping a clear mind. If you're new to the channel, hello, my name is Jasmine. I'm so glad to have you. And I've learned so many lessons so far on my journey of entrepreneurship. But one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is the importance of maintaining a clear headspace, maintaining your confidence, being grounded, knowing how to not be stressed out, or if you do get stressed out, not allowing it to affect what you're doing throughout the day, just being at peace. Entrepreneurship is a crazy roller coaster. Anyone who's doing it part-time, full-time, whether you're online, you got a brick and mortar store, any entrepreneur can tell you that entrepreneurship is by far a stressful, chaotic thing, okay? You will literally have mental breakdowns 10 times a week and you still have to cry through it and you still have to keep moving, okay? But one thing I have noticed is it is so much harder for me to show up. It's so much harder for me to be productive. It's so much harder for me to create content and post regularly, consistently, if my headspace is not clear, okay? I've gotten so good at being peaceful. I've gotten so good at managing stress levels over these past few years. It used to be a point where, like, if I didn't make a certain amount of dollars, like, I would be stressing out, crying, and just moping in bed. Now, like, I'll still cry. Don't get me wrong. I still be crying, but I'm crying while I'm setting up this camera to make this content. I'm crying while I'm, editing these videos. I'm crying before I get on this live, but I still move. I still show up. I've gotten just so much better at self-regulation, okay? You've got to have a clear mindset. Otherwise, you're not going to make the best decisions, especially when you feel desperate. There have been a lot of times through these 6 years where I was like freaking out trying to figure out how I was going to come up with enough money to pay my rent on time, right? And in those moments, especially because I was still new to self-developing and figuring all this out, I would make desperate decisions. And those desperate decisions that I would make were never beneficial for the business. If anything, it hurt the business. And now I realize, 6 years into it, like, that's not okay. You can't make good decisions if your head is not clear, if you don't know how to self-regulate, if you don't know how to diffuse stress. So there are things that I do now to keep myself grounded, to keep my mindset clear so that I can make as many good decisions throughout the day as possible. And of course, you're not going to always make the best decision, right? But I try to maximize good decisions so that my business can perform the way I am hoping for it to perform. The very first thing that I do is I make sure that I get my 8 hours of sleep. I used to be the entrepreneur that was like, we're not going to sleep. We gonna keep hustling. If you sleeping, that means you don't want it bad enough. You can sleep when you're dead. Like, I used to be her, okay? I really used to be her. I have noticed on this journey that when I do not get 8 hours of sleep, I'm not productive. I'm not energized. I'm irritated and frustrated. How is that going to translate well into business? What kind of videos am I going to be able to create if I'm frustrated and irritated? How am I going to be able to get on live and give my audience the best energy if I'm drained, if I'm yawning, if I can't focus on what I'm saying? I can't. And as a result, all I'm doing is affecting my money. I can't. I have to have my rest. I have to be productive, or at least as productive as possible. I have to show up as my best self more often than not. I'm going to always give myself grace. You should give yourself grace. You're not going to be perfect every day, of course, but you can increase the chances of making good decisions when you're well rested. So I focus on going to bed at a certain time. My bedtime is 7:38. And since doing that, I allow myself to naturally wake up. And most of the time I do wake up around 8 hours. Sometimes it'll be 6, but for the most part it's 8. And once I'm up, I'm up. I'm up for the whole day. I feel good. I feel energized. I feel productive most days, right? And that's because I prioritize 8 hours of sleep. The next thing I do is I move my body and I eat clean. I wasn't always like this. Okay, I used to be 100 pounds overweight. My heaviest weight was 340 pounds. And I've kept the weight off now for 4 years. And on my 4-year journey of weight loss, I learned how to eat right. I've learned how to prioritize exercise. I weight lift, I walk. I've been walking now for 9 months, prioritizing. Like I was walking before, but now I prioritize 20K steps a day. Like that's, some days I might only do 10, but I prioritize 20K steps most days. So I've been doing that now for about 9 months. And just making sure that I move my body, just making sure that I'm eating better, I feel better. And I can tell a huge difference from before when I was 340 pounds to now. Because I was still an entrepreneur when I was big, but I didn't have the type of energy that I have now. I'm basically running two businesses. I run my coaching business, I make content for Coach Jazz, and then I also make OnlyFans content, and I'm taking pictures and dealing with my assistants and stuff like that. So my energy is split in half, but I still have so much energy because I watch what I eat. I believe what we put into our body is what we get out. And I'm not sitting here saying I don't eat sweets. I love me some chocolate, okay? But I don't eat fast food unless you consider kava fast food. I do have kava from time to time, but I'm not at McDonald's or anything like that. I don't drink soda. I can't even remember the last time I had soda. All I drink is water and coffee. That is it. So I think those things are very important. And because I take care of my body, I eat right, I move my body, I'm able to feel better. I have more energy. I can go longer working and being focused. My level of focus has improved tremendously since I've prioritized a healthy lifestyle. So if you don't have a healthy lifestyle, I'm gonna need you to start moving that body. Start walking. Why are you always eating fast food? Like, what are we doing, girls? What are we doing? The next thing that I do to maintain a clear headspace is I do not allow toxic people into my life. I've had to distance myself from people, right? I haven't necessarily like cut them off, but I have distanced myself greatly because the mindset that they have doesn't align with my mindset. Right now, they're in a period where they're victim, 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 woe is me. I can't be around that. I don't care who you are. I cannot be around that. And I know sometimes we just have stages in our life where things feel like no matter what you do, it's not going to get better. And, I'm going to be there to support you. But if it starts to affect my peace, we have a problem. And that's going to require me to distance myself because I have made the decision years ago that I will always prioritize myself first because I can't do good if I don't feel good. I've learned that about myself. That's most people. So I have to make sure I feel good as often as I can so that I can show up well for myself. And if your energy and your mindset is starting to weigh on me, I'm taking the conversation home with me, meaning we done got off the phone and what we talked about or the argument we had is weighing on me and affecting my sleep. Oh no. Absolutely not. Oh no. Houston, we have a problem that's going to require some distancing because now that's going to trickle into other parts of my life. Now I'm not getting my sleep. So now I can't perform at my highest level the next day for my business. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. So I distance myself. And, when you pull yourself out of that slump, right, I'm going to always encourage you to go to counseling anyways. I'm not your therapist. And that's something else I think a lot of people need to understand. I used to need that too. You are not these people's therapist. You are not a trained professional. It is not your job to allow people to trauma dump on you. You need to tell people who are venting to you to get counseling. That is not your job. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your friends. I don't care if it's your family. Yes, we all go through things. And yes, you're going to want to share certain things with certain people in your life. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But it should not be a trauma dump, and it shouldn't be to the point where now it's weighing on you. When their problems start weighing on you, you have a serious problem. Serious problem. And sometimes depending on who that person is, it's gonna weigh on you, especially if it's like a close family member, right? It's gonna weigh on you. That makes you human, okay? That's what's gonna happen. And if you've told them, I need you to go to counseling, and they refuse, they're not putting in the work, they're not trying to get better mentally, you have to distance yourself. You cannot allow them to take you down with them, because that's exactly what's going to happen. You cannot pull people up with you. They can only bring you down. I'm going to say that again. You cannot pull people up with you. They will only bring you down. And if you've been putting in that work, showing up for yourself, building your confidence, you're locked in, you're knocking out your goals, why would you, I don't care who it is, why would you allow them to bring you down? All that hard work that it took you to get to that point in your life, and you're going to let someone else's problems pull you down? Oh, no. No. And again, these are grown, able-bodied adults that I'm referring to. I'm not referring to children. I'm not referring to people who have disabilities. I am strictly referring to grown, able-bodied adults, your friends, your boyfriends, whatever, your husbands, whatever, okay? These are grown, able-bodied adults. You gotta distance yourself. The only reason I am able to keep a clear mind and make good decisions and show up for myself is because I know how to remove myself from toxic relationships now. I know how to distance myself, and I did not always know how to do that. I never used to let go of friendships. I would try and try and try and try again to make the friendship work. I would give people the benefit of the doubt. I would overextend, and that got me nowhere. That got me nowhere. If anything, it got me more disrespected. So I don't even do it. I don't do it. I only allow myself to be in spaces where I am celebrated, not tolerated. So those are some of the things that I do to maintain a clear mindset. Leave a comment down below. Which one of these things are you going to start testing out in your own life? I'd love to read what you guys have to say. Also, make sure y'all subscribe to the Patreon if you haven't already. The link is down below in my description, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.